Our NBA Draft Scouting Report series rolls on here on the Supers Media YouTube channel. Today we're discussing DaRon Holmes, the latest Dayton Flyer that is projected to be drafted in the first round. More late first round than early in the first round. It would be a surprise if he went in the lottery. But a good player who was productive for Dayton. So chance he could have gone out last year, opted to go back for another season with the Flyers, performed very, very well. We're going to get into some categories here with how he projects at the NBA level, but give us a general scouting report on his game, Riley.
Yeah, he does everything. He's a perimeter oriented big who can handle, he can pass, he can dunk. I mean, he's pretty athletic as well. Third highest usage rate in the A10, but still sixth in true shooting percentage, second in the league in defensive rebounding percentage, seventh in block percentage, second in free throw rate. Like, did everything at a pretty high level. I think he can play the 4 or the 5, and that sort of depends on his physical development. But I am a huge, absolutely huge fan of his game.
I am too. That's why I'm excited to do this one. I think he has very good potential for the NBA level. But if you had to describe his game in one word, you went through a nice portion there. But if you had to sum it up in one word, what would it be?
I said undervalued. And to play into this we have him 25th on our consensus big board. You have him 17th. I have him 15th. Greg and Carter had him at 36 and 35, respectively. But then when you look at the mock drafts, like from some of the big boys, ESPN, Jonathan Givony currently has him at 52nd. And I think Kevin O'Connor had him in the 40s.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't see how there are that many players that are better than him. I get maybe some of the
Yeah.
size concerns, but yeah, I think he is being very undervalued right now. And he's going to make an
I
NBA
had
team.
underrated, which just fits into the fact that we tend to be on the same wavelength when we're discussing these things. I think he's underrated. He is not somebody who's going to blow you away with his numbers, but you
Mm-hmm.
watch him on the court and he's awesome, right? Like there are a number of guys who are playing big minutes, will be playing big minutes in the NBA Finals, have throughout the NBA playoffs, who got drafted lower than their college production suggested they should for all of the, they didn't test well athletically. They didn't project to have this upside, blah, blah, blah. And here they are making huge impacts and playoff runs. Like, to me, DaRon Holmes is that guy where he's just
Mm-hmm.
a very, very good basketball player who can do everything. So I think I know where we lie on this, but as we discuss if he's more likely to hit his floor or hit his ceiling as an NBA player, which end of the spectrum do you think he's more likely to end up on?
I like ceiling. I think the
Yeah,
athleticism translates. I think he's good in there's tools to work with, I should say, to guard in space.
yeah.
Shot 40% on catch and shoot threes. Like there is a pretty good signs that he can stick in the league. And I just buy how he's improved every year. I buy the perimeter skills to where I think he can hit his ceiling.
I think ceiling as well. Same reason. So we're not going to dive too much into that. But I do think team fit matters a lot. Now, team fit matters a lot for anybody, right? But I think team fit matters for him from a floor ceiling perspective in terms of if he's going to be allowed to develop his entire game or if he's going to be put in a role and essentially develop just the skills in that role. Because he does so
Mm-hmm.
many things well, I think it's easy to put him in a number of different roles and have him make an impact. But I think there's potential for him too to be a high quality player if he's given the opportunity to flourish and develop with that. So I know you mentioned there's talk about him going in the second round. Now we're just looking back half of the first round. Who do you think would be the best team fit for him?
So, like I said, I have him 15th on my big board. Picking 15th is the Miami Heat. This is a Heat culture pick if there ever was one. They're not
Yeah.
afraid to take players who are perceived to be a reach at that spot. Going back to Bam Adebayo 14th, taking Jaime Jaquez 17th. And guess what? It worked out for both of them. And I think the same thing would happen if they picked Deuce here because you can see some Bam Adebayo in his game. I think Adebayo is a different level athletically. Like
Yeah.
Holmes is a really good athlete. Bam's next level. Bam has better size as well. But seeing that sort of big who you can play through, who can handle a little bit, I would believe in that infrastructure with Spoelstra there to get the most out of Holmes.
The versatility of a Adebayo, Holmes, Jaquez front court in
It
like
would be
3
sick.
years would be
Yeah.
absolutely phenomenal. I think the Heat make a lot of sense. I also had down as an option the Utah Jazz because Utah is still trying to figure out exactly what they're doing. They know Lauri
Hmm.
Markkanen is essentially their guy, but they're trying to figure things out. I think Hopes could come in and be a nice complement to Markkanen. He keeps with the same mindset of having some perimeter oriented big men in front court who can space the floor and shoot the ball. I think the potential is there. One, from a style of play standpoint, but two, I think he could handle more of a burden, have the opportunity to handle more of a burden there than he may with some other options there. So I had Utah, but the Heat make a lot of sense too. Heat make a lot of sense too. We'll see what happens there. His peak year in the NBA. Team Fit's gonna have a lot to do with this, but if he does hit that ceiling or get close to that ceiling, what does then his peak year statistics look like for you?
Ooh, I would say 15 points, 7 boards. I'll give him 2 blocks a game.
Okay. Okay. I went much higher than that. I went
Really?
22 points and 8 boards a game.
Wow. 20.
Again,
If he's
we're
a 20
talking
point per,
we are talking ceiling and we are talking peak year, right? The best year of his career. I see a scenario where he makes an all-star team and is a guy who was one of the better players on a playoff team.
can't get there. I love Holmes. I think I see a world where he's maybe like a third, fourth option on a playoff team. But 20 points would be something. If he gets over 20 points a game.
I think you add his ability to shoot, you add his ability around the rim, both
Mm-hmm.
facing up and attacking, and he's got a better post game than people I think realize or give him credit for. I think there's potential for him to be, and we're gonna get to comps in another video, so make sure you like and subscribe. And I'm not comping him to this player at all, but I think he could be like Al Jefferson esque in the sense of like no one ever thinks of Al Jefferson in his time in the NBA as being like a top 20, 30 player in the league, but he made a couple All-Star teams because he averaged over 20 a game because he was one of the featured options on a team that was like kind of playoff contention, kind of not. Like Holmes to me could have that same kind of like peakier stats
Mm-hmm.
because of his ability to score from all three levels. Um, I'm high on him. I'm high
I
on him.
mean, to your credit, like he should be able to get some easy buckets in the league.
Yeah.
I just looked this up. He had 71 dunks this past year, seventh in the country. I might be selling them because and we'll get to this when we get to some of his worst case outcomes. I think he did struggle with physicality a little bit,
Mhm.
but that doesn't mean that he's not a really good athlete. I mean, yeah,
Yeah,
high
and
70s is a good place to be in for dunks
there is a difference too between playing in the A10, playing in the NBA
for sure.
for sure. Particularly the edition or the rendition of the A10 the last couple of years.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but it's in there. So I don't know if his peak's going to be in 5 years or not, but in 5 years, where do you think he's going to be? Is he going to be like an All NBA player, an All Star, started for a team, bench player? It's going to be in the G League. It's going to be overseas, or is he just going to be out of basketball altogether?
I said he'll be a starter, and I feel pretty confident that he can start for a good team if he continues this like trajectory.
I'm with you as well. I'm with you as well. I
Not all
think
star. You didn't. You a little
not an All
timid all
Star.
star.
So I think I think he makes an All Star team in his career. I do in the right scenario, like the right goes to the right team, gets the right role. But I think that maybe like year 7 to 10, somewhere in that range, where it's more of
Mm-hmm.
his athletic peak than in the next 5 years. Because the next five, like on his rookie deal, essentially. And I don't know if he's going to make an all-star team as rookie deal, but I do see him ending up as a starter and solidifying the fact that he is a starting caliber NBA player. I think he's somebody to be that. We're giving everybody a superlative as well. So to cap off the scouting report video, Riley, DaRon Holmes in this draft class is the most likely to what?
Be the surprise rookie of the year candidate. I'm not saying he's going to win it, but it wouldn't be surprising to me if in February it's like, keep an eye on DaRon Holmes. He's putting up 13, 14 points a game.
Yeah.
If I'm saying if he's putting up that, his peak stats might be better than 15 a game. His peak stats really might be in the 20s, but yeah, do something like that, 6 boards, a couple blocks. Yeah. And if he has those highlight reel dunks,
Yep. I think he's the most likely to be the steal of the draft, to be honest, particularly if he's going late in the second round as
mm-hmm.
as is trending now. I think he's the most likely to be CEO of the draft. We talked about how we think he's going to be more towards the ceiling. Just his overall skill set, ability to score from all three levels, the different things he can do. Defensively, there's a lot of upside, both of what he's already done. I think just athletically, what he's going to be able to do and develop into. I think he could play a big role there as well. We both like DaRon Holmes. So if you're watching this and your team ends up getting DaRon Holmes late in the first round or maybe the second round at this point, your team should be very, very excited.
The NBA draft is coming up, and I've got something awesome for you. We are partnering with the people at NBA 2K Lab. NBA 2K is the best video game on earth. The people at 2K Lab are making some awesome stuff to make that game even more fun, and they just launched their 2024 NBA Draft Simulator, where you can find the official Sleepers Media big board. We ranked our top 75 players in this draft class. Me, Carter, Brian Ralph, Riley Davis. We did it together, and it is featured on the 2K Lab NBA Draft Simulator. You can take control of any team in the draft, play GM with just one click, and see our entire rankings before these videos even come out. Check out the link in the description of this video to try out the draft sim for yourself, and you can find more mini games at nba2klab.com/NBA-mini-games.